He was a brilliant detective in his youth. Now he's broke, late on rent, old, and dealing with back pain. However, everything is upended when a young woman arrives, insisting on taking on the role of his assistant. A girl walks into the Nagumo Detective Agency. This agency is run by Keiichirou Nagumo, a once legendary detective known far and wide. A man who could crack cases even the police couldn't touch. He exudes charm and possesses unparalleled experience. Society once hailed him as a god and fan clubs followed his every move. The media adored him. In a brief interview about one of his cases, he famously replied, "It could have used a little more excitement." The ring of his office phone jolted Nagumo awake. At least that's how it used to be. Yes, he was a brilliant detective, a well-respected name in his field. But those glory days were long gone. These days, he struggled just to scrape together enough cash to pay rent at the end of the month. Time hadn't been kind to his body either. His youth had slipped away and his back was a constant reminder of years gone by. It is quite unfortunate that just as he finally secures his first job in a long time, he experiences a back injury. Wincing in pain, he drags himself to the door like his life depends on it. That's when she shows up. A girl is en route to the agency. Feeling a little too watched by the sketchy-looking detective, the girl nearly clocks him with a baseball bat. On the plus side, the near hit actually realigns his spine. A bit startled, Nagumo demands to know who the hell she is. She explains she came after seeing something specific. Though the more she empties her overflowing pockets, the more it seems like she's lost whatever it was. And then it hits her. The thing was where it always is, the back of her neck. From there, she pulls out an old flyer Nagumo had written a long time ago when he was desperate to recruit help. Before she even explains, he cuts her off. There's no way he's hiring her. That triggers a fiery rage in the girl. He justifies his refusal, saying there's no way a high school Jaru could be a detective. She fires back that she's not a Jaru. He cites her makeup, open shirt buttons, and short skirt. In her opinion, that's a painfully outdated take. It's quite unpleasant, to be honest. Still, she insists, this case seems way too much for a washed-up old man like him to handle alone. Nagumo lights a cigarette, trying to reclaim a shred of his old swagger, and lectures her. Being a detective, he says, takes patience. No slip-ups. No hesitation. No delusions. It's a job for the capable, not some flashy Jaro parading around in heels. Just in time, she almost impales him with a spear. That's when she clarifies. Despite appearances, she practices Ryukyu karate. Narumo wonders why she's so determined to be a detective's assistant. She tells him it's because she wants to become a detective herself someday. She's been chasing that dream since she was little, her pocket hoarding technique just one of the many skills she's picked up along the way. As she tells her story, she can see the smug response forming on his face, so she decks him right in the nose. Then she makes it clear she's just a humble detective in training, and she already knows exactly what he was about to say. After all, she's seen every episode of Detective Furuhara and Minza Bureau. First, she deduces he was going to say he barely works and no money to hire help. He confirms it, putting on a fake tone of surprise. She asks if she passed the audition now, but Nagumo just tells her to get lost and go find something better to do with her life. Out on the street, the detective looks down at a photo of a woman named Tamira Takako, 27 years old, an office worker, and married to his client for the past 2 years. About 2 weeks ago, the client began to suspect she was seeing another man during work hours. From the moment he laid eyes on her, Nagumo thought she looked guilty. Still, nothing had happened all week. Today, though, instead of heading toward her office, she turned the other way and walked into a coffee shop. The next step was obvious. Follow her inside without drawing attention. But this place, it was one of those cafes, the fancy flowery type where a rough-looking guy like him might as well walk in wearing a sign that says creep. So Keiichirou decides to tail her from outside. That plan, however, quickly falls apart. Jaru, the insane individual from before, is back. Now understanding the situation, she makes a solid point. If she pretends to be his much younger girlfriend, then him walking into a frilly cafe won't look so suspicious. Even Nagumo has to admit it's not a disastrous plan. So the newly formed couple steps up to the counter. A cheerful barista asks what they'd like. Embarrassed, Nagumo tries to read the menu, but everything is so fancy and over the top that he can't even understand half of the words. The girl urges him to pick something. Already so flustered, he mutters, "Just coffee." Wrong move. She believes that this is literally the most attention-grabbing choice, so she takes charge and places the order for both of them. 2 venti hazelnut vanilla almond caramel frappuccinos with an extra espresso shot and whipped cream topped with extra chocolate. As their sugar bombs arrive at the table, Nagumo mentally prepares himself for instant diabetes. In an attempt to change the subject, he asks her if she has ever considered applying to other agencies for an assistant job. She shrugs. His office is just really close to her house. Lighting another cigarette, Nagumo sizes her up and reminds her he's just an old guy who's been in the business for 20 years. It hasn't been easy. She ignores him. She fixes her gaze on Tamara Takako and instantly understands the significance of this situation. He's trying to catch her cheating. He grunts. She's not wrong. He needs photos, evidence, and proof that she's stepping out on her husband. Ironically, the girl and the detective start arguing out loud about whether or not he's being too suspicious by the way he's staring at the woman, and they're loud enough to catch Takako's attention. Thinking fast and trying to play it cool, the so-called assistant swoops in with a spoonful of frappuccino, flying it toward Nagumo's mouth like a little airplane, feeding him in the most awkwardly romantic way imaginable. Somehow, the plan works. Then the girl casually points out that in the age of smartphones, people are way more aware of their surroundings. They don't want to appear foolish on camera and risk exposure on the internet. Nagumo, for his part, admits he doesn't even know what a cell phone is. In his mind, they were still just fancy little handheld mirrors. Then the girl reveals something surprising. While Nagumo was tailing the woman from the cafe, she was tailing him. The fact that he didn't even notice this only proves that he is not losing work due to his age, but rather because he has lost his instincts and awareness. Hearing this, Nagumo admits maybe his intuition isn't what it used to be. But the problem is, he only knows how to do things the old-school way. And since that's what brought him fame in the past, it's even harder to let go of that method. Her reaction to this real, genuine sadness? Just then, a man in a suit walks up to Tamura Takako. Nagumo recognizes him. It's her boss. He watches as the two embrace, and from his perspective, when it comes to cheating, it's much easier to prove someone's guilty than innocent. All it takes is one photo of the lovebirds being unfaithful and case closed. As he says that, he pulls a camera from his pocket, making it extremely obvious what he's about to do, which leaves his so-called assistant in utter panic. Thinking fast again, she snatches the camera and takes a selfie with Nagumo as cover, sneakily including Takako and her boss in the background. When the client receives the photo, he's crushed. He sees his wife clinging to another man and walks off looking like the saddest man alive. After he leaves, Nagumo asks when the girl is planning to go home. She protests, reminding him of her assistance during the investigation, only to have him treat her like trash. Acknowledging her potential, Nagumo says she can visit the Nagumo Detective Agency whenever she wants but makes no promises about her being his assistant. Seizing the moment, she snatches his coat as payment for her services. Nagumo doesn't seem to mind. He asks her what she thought of the investigation, and she casually replies it lacked a bit of excitement. He's surprised she even knows who he used to be, and before she leaves, he asks her name. Mashiro speaks. After their goodbyes, Nagumo heads back toward the agency, only to throw out his back and trip over the first step of the staircase, face planting right at the entrance. Concerned, Mashiro turns back and runs to help, but also takes the chance to make fun of the poor guy. The next day, the dynamic duo is already on another important case for the neighborhood, finding a missing cat. Unfortunately, they find the wrong feline, and since you can't exactly toss a cat out like trash, Mashiro decides to adopt it and names him Cerberus, the new agency mascot. Nagumo points out that Cerberus is a dog in mythology, but Mashiro has no patience for useless details and sticks with the name, welcoming her beloved new pet. The cat sneezes directly into her face, eliciting a less affectionate response than before. The confused old lady asks what's going to happen with her case. Later, Mashiro proudly unveils a ridiculous poster she made for the agency. Though she swears she has serious artistic talent, Nagumo crumples the monstrosity without a second thought. The poster said they'd do anything, which to him is an insult to the noble profession of a detective. Regardless, Michelle confesses that she has already distributed over 500 of those flyers throughout the town. Before Nagumo can even start yelling about printing costs, Cerberus strolls in with a bug in his mouth, prompting the detective to immediately flee the scene. Mashiro, ever the opportunist, grabs the bug and chases after her bug-phobic boss just to mess with him. In retaliation, Nagumo hurls his assistant out the window and orders her to go take down every last one of those posters she put up. A bystander just passing by witnesses this chaos and calls the cops. Once Nagumo explains that the girl would be totally fine even if she fell from the 5th floor, he greets the new client properly. The woman says she saw the poster where it claims Nagumo could do anything, so she came to hire him to deal with a beehive at her house. But Nagumo flat out refuses. With the confidence of a world-class detective, he admits that he won't be taking the case because he's deathly afraid of insects. He considers sending Mashiro to handle it instead, but first he asks the client how to make a call using a smartphone. When he gets through, Mashiro grumbles that she's still busy tearing down posters, but Nagumo insists it's an emergency job for pest control. Realizing this could be her big chance to prove herself, Mashiro gets pumped, ready to take on the mission and rushes to the address. When she arrives, she finds a grimy old building with Crime Association written at the entrance. Mashiro starts to suspect that the whole beehive story might actually be a metaphor and that she's not walking into an insect nest but a den of actual criminals. Whatever it is, she's determined to crush it. She's seen too many action movies to chicken out. Now this is it. Time to make the magic happen. With a pest extermination guide in hand, Nagumo begins coaching her over the phone. Please begin by approaching the hive as closely as possible. Once she finds an entrance and sees how many bees there are, she needs to block it off. That's when Mashiro enters a room filled with shady-looking thugs who are stunned by their good fortune. An innocent little girl unexpectedly wanders into their territory. Nagumo gives the order to hit him hard with the insecticide without any hesitation or delay. Right then, Mashiro pulls a can of tear gas from her pocket and sprays it straight into the face of a bald guy standing in front of her. She effortlessly avoids a katana swipe as Nagumo cautions her about the potential consequences. Moments later, a thug armed with a gun opens fire, forcing the intruder to duck behind a desk for cover. As payback, she whips out a flamethrower and torches a few of the gangsters. Their screams snap Nagumo into the realization that things have taken a very bizarre turn. Left all alone, the last thug starts sweating bullets as he watches the pint-sized monster who just wiped out all his buddies. The hunger in her eyes makes him instantly regret ever joining the Yakuza, especially if the only reason was because he liked the fancy suits. But then Monsieur drops the flamethrower. Seeing a glimmer of hope, the man lunges at her with a knife. That's when Nezutaro, 22 years old and 2 years into his Yakuza career, feels death. Breathing down his neck for the very first time, he drops to his knees and desperately begs for his life. With the job done, Mashiro calls the boss to give him the good news. He asks what the bees looked like. Glancing at the trembling mess that is Nezu, she casually replies, "Long legs." That's all Nagumo needs to hear to realize they were just paper wasps. Later that day, an ATV report at the Nagumo Detective Agency announces that the secret office of the Crime Association was completely wiped out by an unknown assailant. When Mashiro explains that she was the one behind it, Keiichirou nearly has a meltdown. But she calmly adds that the mission wasn't all awful. It did bring in some useful results. For instance, Nezutaro, the now former Yakuza member, after being spared by Mashiro. Nezu sees this as a second chance at life and pledges eternal loyalty to Mr. Nagumo's agency. "Well then," says Nagumo, "go make us some coffee." The client casually inquires about the removal of the beehive from her house as he delivers the order. "I appreciate you viewing my anime recap, Unruly Family. Please let me know what you think about this anime recap by liking, sharing, and commenting, and please subscribe to the channel to help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Take you